Today's question is from Joey, who's having an issue with motivation, something we've all struggled with at some point. And basically his story is very similar to many, where he got into jiu-jitsu, got into training, loved it, was super excited about it. And after a couple of years, he's found that he's a little bit demotivated. He doesn't have that motivation he used to have. And so he sent me the message. He was like, Chewy, I know you've been training for over 20 years. So at some point you must have had a situation or a time where you weren't so motivated. How did you deal with it? And so Joey, thank you for the question, and I'll answer it here for you, and I'll give you some ideas to chew on, and that may help you. It's been useful to me to look at motivation in the way that I look at it now versus the way that I used to look at it. So I'm going to share a couple terms with you, and then we'll get right into the idea about how you can essentially create your own motivation. So the first idea, the first term is inspiration. And that word basically comes from the idea to inspire, to breathe in. And a lot of times when you look at the etymology of it, it talks about it has a spiritual connection, meaning like God, to breathe life into something. And when you think of when you start something that you're passionate about early on, a lot of times it's like that, isn't it? You feel as if you've got new life breathed into you. I know that when I started jiu-jitsu, I was so excited to train. I could train all day and night as much as possible. I bought tons of DVDs from my house to watch jiu-jitsu and study and do instructional type stuff. I bought mats for my basement. I mean, I got all in. I was all into it. I remember when I started doing these videos with you guys, like, it became kind of fun. And I remember I started doing them, and all of a sudden I found myself waking up at like 4 a.m. because I was like, I want to go do some more videos. Now that maybe isn't so early for some of you, but considering, my last classes were done around 7:30 to 8 at night, and then I was staying in the gym afterwards to do videos the night before, like it just ate me up for a long time. Not like years or anything, but like for several months, I was like, okay. Eventually, I was like, I got to get a grip on this because it was interfering with my life. And a lot of times, that early phase of that spark that gets going, it's like that. It's this super energetic period where we're excited, we're inspired to do something, and it has this energy to it that's almost unwieldy. It's like when you fall in love with someone or like early on in the relationship and you're just, it's probably more infatuation, right? But you're just so just enamored with them. You're so you can't get enough of them. It's like that where it's all over the place. The next one is discipline. Now, discipline has different definitions, and sometimes I think that it doesn't match up with what we think of as discipline in our culture. Like when you can say to someone like, hey, what does discipline mean to you? And they know what it means, but sometimes they can't quite explain what it means. And so I like the definition for discipline, which is to train oneself to do something in a controlled and habitual way. Because in essence, that's what we're doing, right? We want to do things in a controlled and habitual manner over and over again because we understand a lot of times that to accomplish exceptional things, we have to do a lot of repetitive and mundane stuff. That's why I posted on several different places in social media the other day. I was like, the fruit of the exceptional, whether it's an exceptional skill or whatever it might be, it grows on the tree of mundane and repetitive practice, right? And a lot of times that exceptional stuff that we see is based on that repetitive stuff that we just have to do over and over again. And again, that requires discipline. And so again, I like that definition. Now, the third thing is motivation. Now that word motivation, the term comes from motivus, the Latin word motivus, and comes from motive. You can sort of break this down to meaning sort of getting into the terms of movement and the reason why you take action. So here's the way that I look at these things. When we start doing something new, right? For you, Joe, you started jiu-jitsu, you're all excited about it. Okay, cool. You're inspired here. You got inspiration, you got the spark. Well, then it comes down to a sense of normalcy. Things level out a little bit. Not quite as inspired as you used to be. And sometimes we can get really funny about that because we can feel like something's wrong, right? But the reality is you're never going to have that spark that you had at the very beginning. It's not new like it used to be. It's different. It's like a relationship, right? Like when you're all infatuated with a person in the beginning, right? It's never going to feel like that again. It can feel different. It can feel better in some ways, but it's never going to feel like that. And then once we get into the discipline time, this is where we have to dig in and we've got to do the work that we need to do. And again, that comes to doing the things that we know we need to do. A lot of this stuff, it's not, you don't have to be, You don't have to be a PhD to understand, what do I need to do to get better? I need to train. I need to eat good food. I need to maybe get on a good diet for me. I need to put in some strength training. I need to get sleep. I mean, this stuff's very simple. We can try to overcomplicate all this stuff, but it's very simple. And I think a lot of times people sort of prey on other people by trying to make it seem like there's some secret. Most of the stuff that you need to do to get good at jiu-jitsu or training or most stuff in life, it's pretty damn simple. It's just a lot of work. But if you get through this thing and you flex that discipline muscle and you build that discipline up, because in my view, discipline is not something you're born with. It's something you develop through your actions, through your habits, right? And we get that habit. Here's what happens. Once you start pushing through, you will eventually make progress. Whatever progress means to you or feels to you. And you will then have this weird sense, or not a weird sense, but a new sense of motivation. Now, this is why I was talking about creating it. The inspiration, that stuff hits you, you don't have control, but it's like smacks you in the face, and all of a sudden you're excited. Well, on the other end, there's motivation that keeps you going, and it's like this forward momentum. And I can think about the most motivating periods of my life versus the most unmotivated periods of my life. You're probably very similar, I would imagine, where if I'm making action like towards something and I have forward momentum, I feel more motivated. I'm more motivated to do something because I'm already doing it. It's like the ball in motion stays in motion, right? It's like this, I just keep going. When I'm derailed and I'm not taking action, those are the periods where I don't feel very motivated. I mean, you can take a look at, like, say, the lockdown times during 2020 where the governments lost their minds, right? Those are periods where, again, it was tough to stay motivated. I was lifting weights and stuff, but things were all out of whack. I wasn't making the same progress that I was, and I didn't have the same sort of drive that I was able to because I didn't have the action going already. And you can think about when you have an injury. It's tough when you get an injury because all of a sudden you're no longer to take that action, and it can be a very demotivating time. But if you continually take the action, you'll probably find that you stay more motivated because regardless of what's going on, you know you're taking the necessary steps to make it happen. At least that's been the case for me. And so here's what I do. When I get into a little bit of a funk, going back to you, Joey, because you're in a funk right now. When I get into a funk, first off, I don't wait for the inspiration to come back. I don't expect it to. It's never going to come back. I'm never going to feel like I do about jiu-jitsu like I did when I was a brand new white belt. It's never coming back, okay? But I have a relationship with now that's very different, and I really like it. But when I do have a training funk with lifting, with whatever it is, what I do is simply, I don't fixate on how I feel now. I fixate on how I'm going to feel after I'm done training. Because at least in my view, I've had very few days where I was not happy that I went into the gym. In fact, like off the top of my head, I cannot think of a day where I wasn't happy that I went to the gym. I'm always happy that I went to the gym. I'm excited that I did that. You know, even on days where I got injured, I don't regret going to the gym because there was a lot of good stuff that happened. This was just one bad thing, but I'm pretty happy I went to the gym. And so for me, I look at it that way. And when I'm done with that training session, I generally feel pretty good. I feel accomplished. I did something. I was working towards my goals. It's a good thing. And so for you, Joey, in that situation, first off, don't wait for this feeling to come at you. It ain't coming back, bro. Right? And your message was a little bit longer than what I shared with the video. It's not coming back. Okay, and so you've got to sort of allow this relationship that you have with jiu-jitsu to change. And because again, the inspiration lasts it can be everything from hours to years. It can last however long it does. But once it's gone, now we have to rely on discipline. And the discipline, again, you may not feel like you're a super disciplined person, but you can exercise it. You could develop the discipline by simply taking the right actions over and over again. And then on that other end, when you get the momentum going, that's to me where the motivation comes from. The motivation comes from the fact that we know we're taking action, and it wasn't based on some feeling that hit us. It was based upon what we did. Like I went to training, I made progress, I made that happen. That motivates me. Having something happen to me, that doesn't motivate me, right? Like when I was doing stuff with the business, if I make a certain change in the business and all of a sudden I notice that things improve in whatever way that I was looking for them to improve. Again, that's motivating to me because I did that. That was my work that I put forward. I did the things that I needed to do and boom, it happened. That makes me motivated. And that's the case for a lot of people. And the difference is that motivation that you feel because of it's the direction you want to move and you're taking that action, you're consistently moving forward, that is a power that you can wield. You can't wield the inspiration. It's crazy. It's a crazy feeling that hits you, but that motivation that you feel on the other side of discipline, that's the feeling where you can control it, you can wield it, you can continue to use it, opposed to it basically using you. because you're all over the place with this excited feeling of newness. So anyway, Joey, that's my idea. Inspiration can lead to discipline, and if we can push the discipline and develop that, then on the other side, we can have that motivation that comes from us taking action and having momentum forward towards whatever we're chasing. So hopefully that's useful to you, brother. And guys, I'll talk to you next time.